trying to figure this out. We are solutions oriented here. I don't like the circular conversations that I hear on cable news. I feel like it's just there for fear mongering and clicks and algorithms. We need to have serious conversations about how we move forward. Voting, I think, is step 10 in a 10-step process. I feel like right after Biden was elected, there needed to be a list of demands of what we want for our vote. And I'm already feeling the frustration seep in with people like, why am I voting for the Democrats? And I'm like, your life depends on it. People are tired of hearing that, but it's true. But people are tired of hearing about it. Where's the power to meet the power that we're fighting? Where is that in this country, Glenn?
So there was a time when we used to get out in the streets and protest. I went to the BLM protest in DC where every law enforcement agency known to man and some unknown to man, because they weren't even wearing their insignia, was deployed for, let's just call it, crowd control. And yet, January 6th, there was barely a police officer in sight. And the brave police officers of the Capitol Police and my friends at the Metropolitan Police Department, you saw what happened to them. Why? Because the executive branch, Donald Trump's executive branch, deprived the Capitol of the resources it needed to defend against an attack Donald Trump launched. I mean, if we don't reckon with that by charging Donald Trump, then again, I think we are lost as a republic. There used to be a time when, there was civil disobedience. There were massive protests. I don't know if, I do think when everything is lawless coming out of Trump and company, it makes it hard for the people to galvanize around any one issue. The last time it seems like we succeeded in doing it was behind police officers murdering George Floyd on video. Proudly so, right? And I think that's when not only America, but the world stood up and said, enough. No, we've seen it before. We're done. That galvanized, that motivated. I haven't seen us galvanized and motivated that way behind, all of the crimes of Trump and company, or since Trump left office and there's been no accountability for what they've done. That's one of the few tools we have left, is mass protest. And I'm sorry, civil disobedience, good trouble, right? I wouldn't advocate violence, but at least good trouble, right?
Good trouble. On the heels of the sentencing of Derek Chauvin, another young Black man was shot in the back in the same town. So if civil disobedience actually had an impact, we wouldn't have seen what happened in Tennessee a few weeks ago. Actually, we saw the video of what happened a few weeks ago, right? I don't even know about civil disobedience. I said this at the time, that the summer of George Floyd will give a lot of money to a lot of institutions, organizations, HBCUs. That guilt fund will be there, but the window is going to be very tight. Y'all got maybe 2 years to get all of the money you can. And after that, the window's going to close. A lot of companies hired for diversity, equity, and inclusion, while newsrooms and corporations still are predominantly white male, especially newsrooms, right? The producers, the people that make the decisions, still are very white. So the protests, we still have empowered police, militarized police, who are still brutalizing far too many American citizens. After George Floyd, somebody else got a knee on their neck, right? So I don't even know if that's the solution, because solutions to me bear results. Meaning we've seen massive police reform. We haven't seen massive police reform. There's no massive movement in this country to reform the way we police human beings. That's a problem.
Yeah. And I've talked a number of times about just one man's view of police reform, because I was a career prosecutor. Yep. Particularly in DC, which is a really unique jurisdiction in which to prosecute for a couple of reasons. One, we are the federal prosecutors and we are the local prosecutors. So I'm doing RICO cases one year, and then I'm walking across the street to Superior Court, local court in the District of Columbia. DC isn't a state, so they don't get a DA's office. Hopefully we'll change that someday and make DC a state. I don't see it happening anytime soon, but, I kind of think, representation is important. But I would walk across the street and prosecute all the local cases as well, the murders, the rapes, the arsons, et cetera. And I got to see up close and personal, I think, more law enforcement agencies than anybody else, because in DC, yes, you've got the Metropolitan Police Department. Those are our local partners in crime fighting in DC. But we also, as prosecutors, work with the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, the Park Police, the Capitol Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Secret Service Uniform Division, the Amtrak Police, the Postal Police, the Metro Police, the Smithsonian Police, and I could go on and on and on. I've seen and then when I was an Army prosecutor, starting back in the 80s, I worked with the military police, the CID division. So I've seen a lot of police, or in DC, as we call them, the police. I've seen a lot, and I've worked with a lot of them. I still believe most of them are in it for the right reasons, to protect and serve. However, when you get people who are drawn to law enforcement because of the hate they have inside them, and they want the power, and they want the badge on their chest and the gun on their hip, and they want to be able to order us out of our cars because it makes them feel brave and strong and important, that, in my view, is what police reform looks like. Karen, you can ban a chokehold. You can ban a certain weapon being carried on a belt. None of that matters if the person who is policing is not in it for the right reasons, to protect and serve, lead with empathy, right? So that's why.
So how do you make that happen?
Here's how I think we make it happen. I think it basically three parts, and I know this is going to sound quick and easy and almost trite, but it is the reality that I've come to. First of all, you need extreme vetting of people who want the badge and the gun. Extreme vetting with full citizen participation, because guess what? Nobody can hide their tendencies anymore. They live these lives online. I'm going to crawl so far up your social media accounts that you're not going to be able to hide your racist, your misogynistic, your homophobic, and your xenophobic tendencies. You need not apply. And if you do apply, I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to do it with full citizen participation. Because, Karen, look, we get to vote for people and send them to the state house, send them to the school board, send them to Washington, and they have some impact over our lives day to day. They're making policy. They're saying you got to pay more taxes or less taxes. Guess what? We don't get to vote for the public officials who have the most direct impact on our lives, the police.
Maybe we should. Maybe that should be on the ballot. Because I feel like policing, just like this country, was founded in terror. The police in this country were founded through enslavement for people to go get Black bodies that escaped slavery and bring them back. That's the foundation. So it's always been about policing. Even after emancipation, it was about gathering Black bodies who were loitering. Like they started making up these loitering because you're no longer working on a plantation. So if you're not working, that's a crime. We're going to sentence you to 30 years on a chain gang. That's the foundation of policing. So it attracts what it is. I feel like, again, we have to start to tell the truth about these institutions that controls our lives, because you're right. I'm a law abiding taxpayer. I paid more taxes last year than Elon Musk and Warren Buffett combined. All right. And I could get pulled over and my whole life could be upended in an encounter with somebody that's not even worthy to have a conversation with me, let alone judge my criminality, and can criminalize me for insubordination. They don't like how I talk, how I looked at them. My whole life can be altered by somebody who means me no harm simply because they have a license, a badge, and a gun to be able to do that. That should never happen in America.
And that's why
Especially not for a traffic stop. So maybe you don't get to pull me over with a gun for running a red light or having a tail light out, maybe.
So I think part one, extreme vetting with full citizen participation, right? If I'm going to be policed, I want some say in who polices me.
Absolutely.
That only sounds fair, right? In a democracy. So then part two is extreme testing and training with full citizen participation, not just at the academy, not just a 60-day wonder and put them on the street. Early and often and throughout a career, week by week, month by month, with full citizen participation and extreme vetting is most important. Who gets
Let me ask you as a prosecutor.
The third one is extreme accountability with full citizen participation. 1 strike and you're out. No 2 strikes, no 3 strikes, no moving to another police force to
I was going to say, what about a database? What about a federal database where if you did something in one place, you can't, you're in a database that just like sex offenders, right? There's a sex offender database. Why not a bad police database?